This is an Ellis Mowers and Mower small engine repair. Stay connected on Instagram and Facebook at Ellis Mowers and More. Comments or questions? Leave them below or email me, ellis@ellismowers.com. Parts used in today's repair are found using the links in the description below. And as always, like and subscribe for more small engine content. On today's repair, we're going to take care of a push mower here. It is a Craftsman with a 6.75 Briggs and Stratton Quantum engine on it. What this is doing, they have tried to do a couple of things to it, and it's not going to work. I've already checked to see what the issue is. They had to replace the piece that goes, I guess it's the mounting bracket for the carburetor that goes in between the carburetor and the engine. I think it holds some of the throttle linkages and stuff along those lines. They had to replace that part. Yeah. And then they put a spark plug on it, but it's still having issues running. And I'll show you what it's doing. What it's doing is it's ripping the cord out of your hand, and y'all experienced folks know what that means. So let's do this. Ugh. I don't want to pull my arm out of the socket trying to fix it or trying to show y'all. Amazingly, it will run. So what we've got to do here is replace the flywheel key. Flywheel key is what keeps the engine in time, and also a flywheel key shears whenever it encounters some sort of hard jolt or hard stop, like if you hit a tree stump, if you hit just, you know, concrete or something hard. What it does is it actually protects the engine from all the stuff inside just shocking to a complete stop and potentially breaking something inside the engine. So that's what we're going to replace on here. I'm going to grab all the tools that we need, and we're just going to run the gamut on this and just get it knocked out here in the next few minutes. Start y'all on the top here. We're going to take the engine cover off. On this machine, it's 3 Phillips head screws because it has this little piece on the side. And that reveals the new, I guess, throttle mounting plate that they put on here because I guess the old one was bad. What we're going to do next, grab my impact. And we're going to do a 5/16 on the gas tank. Three bolts at the top. Now the 4th bolt is underneath right here. You don't have to take that off in order to do what we need to do here. We're going to get a 3/8 next and take off the bolts for the shroud. And then we should be able to pull the shroud off just like this. And then I've got to get the pull rope down through the cover. So that I can take the shroud off here. Now my next order of business, I'm going to grab my big impact and we're going to take this 15/16 inch nut off. Alright, we're going to pull this off here. 15/16, and what y'all are gonna find is a sheared flywheel key, because I've already seen it. So what the person that I got this from told him what it needed. I was like, in layman's terms, this and this are supposed to be lined up, and they're not. So you can see it's sheared just a little bit. Sometimes it'll still run. It was running pretty rough there for a few seconds, and then it just kind of cut off. And then when I pulled it again, that's when it kicked back, and I knew exactly what I needed to do then. So what I do a lot of times, let me get y'all up here again, is put this nut on. We'll pull this plug out. It ain't gonna start, but put the nut back on flush with the shaft, because that's the best way to not mess up threads here. We have enough room to where we can hit the, well, I'm gonna take off this 3/8 so that I have a clear shot for the gas tank. And I'll pull this out to the side. Oh, right there, I think. Ugh. Got one of them fresh start gas caps on it too, so kind of shows you. Ugh. This may have not been a good idea. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to grab a clamp, and I'm going to pull the brake back by pulling the safety bar. That way it's not inhibited when I go to do this. We're going to get a pry bar here, and we don't have to pry on it very much. We just have to pry on it just enough to give it a little bit of a start, and we're just going to hit it. One more time. There we go. And that's going to get the flywheel off. We did not damage the threads, which is fantastic. That's always the wild card in this. And you can see here's the sheared flywheel key, and the other half is falling off. The other half is still inside the keyway of the engine right there. So we'll see if we can get those off. Okay, we're off there. I keep these on deck, so I'm just going to get another one. And we'll just reverse the process here. Got y'all a little bit closer here, hopefully. Like I said, we're just going to reverse the process. Engine's a little dirty. Hopefully it doesn't need a carb clean. I don't think it will. It probably ran like garbage because of this. Hard to believe it ran as good as it did. And we're just going to, I slid the flywheel in. We're just going to kind of push this key in, just like so. I will link, if you need one of these, I'll link a part number in the description below, and you can buy them off of Amazon. And that's all you really need. One other thing I want to mention before I put it back together, if you have any issue trying to get this off, you can use some sort of lubricant, maybe let it sit for a day or so and let it penetrate, because sometimes, depending on the conditions of the machine and how it's been used, it may have a bunch of rust right here. These guys from Strikehold sent me some stuff, and you can just, spray it down give it a try. Cleaner lubricant protectant is made in the USA. I have a link in the description below to that as well. It works really well. I've used it in many applications. Freeing up pulleys and things along those lines. It works just as good, if not better, than the standard WD-40 and other lubricants that you have out there. Plus, you're supporting American business. And so we'll put this back on 15/16. That's all we need there. And let's see. Everything is lined up like it was. We will put this back on now, and just be mindful that whenever you put the 3/8 bolt on the side for the gas tank back on, there's a bushing that goes in between the gas tank and the engine. So we're going to put that back on while we're here. Guy really needs a gas cap. I might, if I've got one here, I might throw one on it for him. Let's see, next is the shroud, isn't it? Sometimes you have to take the shroud off with the dipstick. Sometimes you can take the dipstick out independent from the shroud. It just kind of depends on how easy it comes out. A lot of times I like to do what I did here and put the dipstick, keep the dipstick on the shroud. So there's a little piece on this side that you'll see you have to slide in between. And we are back together here, so that's good. We have 4 bolts on the side. Or 2 on the front there and 2 on the top. I like to thread them in a couple of threads before I hit them with the impact, just because last thing you want to do is cross thread or break a bolt. So the ones in the back are a little tricky to do, but we got it. That one at least. Let's do number 2 while we're out. Okay. So we'll just tighten these down. Okay. Now we'll slide this back up 5/16. We'll get these started very gently. Oh, I know what I'm going to use for this. I'm going to use a nut driver for it. I think. Let's see. How are we doing here? Here we go. There we go. And last but not least, we put the cover back on. Actually fell off right there. put in the other. Let's see. So just tighten these down really carefully. I think we can get this one in, maybe. There we go. Alright, so that is all in. We'll put this back on. And do we trust my repair? We'll see. Let me pull it out here. Give it a few primes. And a pull. So it is running. It could use probably a carb clean. It might need an air filter. Let's take a look at that while we're here. We'll see if it runs any better without it. Probably not. So I told him that I may have to do a carb clean to it. It looks like we're going to have to do that as well. I've done that quite a few times on these machines. So I'm just going to go ahead and knock that out so that this video can exclusively be about the flywheel key. And we will see if I can get it to run better before we wrap this video up. A couple of other observations that I have made on this machine. You see I've got the shroud back off because I want to mention it to y'all because it's something that could potentially happen whenever you have an issue with your machine and you need to fix it, like the flywheel key. Flywheel key sheared usually means a big impact. Well, over time, I don't know if it's because it's been running with a bent blade or because of the poor timing, but you can see that the muffler is loose. What was causing, I believe, the running issues was this. So this intake tube here was actually loose around the gasket. So what it was doing is it was sucking way too much air in. This plate that they put on is also not the correct plate for this machine. It's one for a one that has an electric start. I think it's going to work okay though. But I'm going to put everything back on it now and see if that will fix everything here and hopefully tighten up these exhaust bolts a little bit. I've already tightened these up a little bit, just a couple of 1/4 inches. Don't get them too tight. You don't want to strip the threads. But I'm not going to do it. I'm going to recommend that he puts a new blade on this because he knows the resources to be able to put a blade on it, and that'll save him a few dollars because we're getting borderline to not even being worth fixing this thing at this point. All right, we are running much better now. We've also tightened up the exhaust again. I'll show you all that just for proof in this video. I'd say that's a lot better than we had it. I can't believe it was running with all the issues that it had. Because, well, we'll go over it in the end. I'm going to put the cover back on and put the air filter back on. And I'm going to recommend, because it'll be cheaper if he did it as opposed to if I did it for him. Because, you know, you don't want to be pushing over $100 of a repair on a mower that's probably worth about $75 as it sits. I'm going to recommend that he does a gas cap. I recommend that he puts a new blade on it, and I'm going to recommend that he puts an air filter on it. Those three items, they're, you know, decently worn, but they're not going to be like detrimental to not have this thing run. And really, that's what we needed to do, is just get this thing back in running condition for him. Like I said, he can do the small stuff, but when it came to all that, it just was too much. So we are done with this mower. Again, the biggest thing was the flywheel key. Like I said, I don't know how this thing ran the way that it did, but it did, and some crazy stuff. But we put the flywheel key in. The carburetor actually was fine. It didn't need cleaning, but what that did is it allowed the real problem to be revealed, so to speak, and that was that intake tube that had loosened itself. The exhaust was a little loose as well, again probably from rough running and the vibration of the blade that I'm gonna recommend that he does. Again, you got to kind of know your customer and know what they want to put into a machine. I could go, again, if I was going to sell this, number one, I would fix the self-propel. Number two, I would have put a new blade on it, new air filter, change the oil and all that stuff. But again, he has the resources to be able to do that, and he can do it a lot cheaper than I can for him. I just wanted to get it back to a good running state for him, and that's what we have done with not a ton of work. It's always nice to work on these push mowers. So we did flywheel key, we tightened up the intake, we did clean the carb, although we didn't have to, and I attempted to put a gas cap on it, but I didn't have the correct gas cap and it wasn't venting, so that's the reason why I put that gas cap back on it. And we tightened up the exhaust bolts and a couple of other things. But hope y'all enjoyed the video. Let me know what y'all would do in this case. Again, we've got a little rust pinhole starting on the left rear here, so it doesn't make sense for me to, if this mower was in better shape and newer, it would make more sense to me to do all of that for him. But in this case it doesn't. We've got him back cutting again, and he can choose if he wants to replace the remainder of it or just ride it until the deck rots out. So thank you all again for watching. Again, this Briggs Quantum will outlast this deck all day long. You see how good it runs still, and it's a shame that they had to go by the wayside because of emissions regulations. But take care, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video.